YouTube family, welcome to another video with your host Sophie Rashid. Today I'm really excited to speak to you guys about the universal language, which is symbol. The universal language is not English or Spanish. It's symbol, and symbol is very multifaceted. When we're speaking about symbol, oh my goodness, that we're going to need to sit down for about 1,000,000 years. So, to honor this time that we have together, I'm going to bring you through a sort of working example using the word earth, which when you put the last letter to the front, you get heart. So earth rearranged becomes heart. That is going to be the working example that will be woven into this video, and I'm really excited to take you through that because you'll see how you could go so many directions with free association helping this process for sure. And I'm going to weave in some etymology, some numerology, and also just juicing it up with what dots you can connect when we're speaking about the universal language of symbol. Now, I have a really beautiful quote here that I want to share with you from Dion Fortune. She says that there are two quotes. They're so good. The first one is, symbols are to the mind what tools are to the hand, an extended application of its power. Second quote. It is said that thought grew out of language, not language out of thought. What words are to thought, symbols are to intuition. Curious as it may seem, the symbol precedes the elucidation. Love it. I really particularly love those words. What words are to thought, symbol is to intuition. So words, let's say, are the way that thought is translated and expressed into the outward realm. It's that movement from in to out. And so intuition, which is experienced within this vessel and without, right? You're still picking it up. That is expressed outwardly in the symbols that you perceive. In the previous video that I shared about feeding your muse, those symbols can come through with synchronicities. Those symbols can come through the book that you pick up in the library or the bookstore, which is random, but exactly the thing that you've been looking at or questioning for, wanting to dive a little deeper. And then there it appears, right? So the symbolism isn't just bound to this particular symbol that you see on that car. No, when we're speaking about symbol, we're speaking about so many things. And that's what I'm going to ground in presence a lot in this video in a short and sweet and digestible way. So this is all well and good, but why is it important to be able to perceive and translate the universal language of symbol for you and your life? Great question. For me personally, my sense of it is that the universal language of symbol is what adds a bunch of depth into your life. Not only does it allow you to perceive something that others may simply miss, it allows you to create, essentially to be a free thinker. Like you're creating free associations, like you're growing new neural pathways. You're able to perceive the magic in the mundane, where otherwise it could just be seen as the little plants growing out of the cracks of the sidewalk. Like objectively, there are some plants growing out of the cracks in the sidewalk. But when we apply the universal language of symbol, let's say that you have been feeling super imprisoned by particular thoughts and limiting beliefs, that there's been stagnancy, there's been a lack of growth in your life. And if you have the filter, the glasses, the code, let's say, downloaded of I can perceive and receive the universal language of symbol, then you apply that, and the little plants growing out of the cracks in the sidewalk become a symbolic evocation and representation of you being that plant, pushing yourself out of the limits, making your way out of the darkness towards the sun, because you're growing and you will not stop growing. Nothing, not even concrete, can stop you from growing. Do you see already how that is something so simple, but you've taken that one moment deeper to translate it and apply it to something that's happening in your life, to immediately feel more connected to what's going on around you. In our modern society, it is super, super easy to get stuck in a hyper individualized framework where it's a lot about, for sure, we hear it a lot, being stuck in the mind and super intellectual or way too emotional, like this polarity. And when you apply the universal language of symbol, it transcends polarity. It's about you as a co-creator of all this. How do you decide to show up to the world, and how do you decide to decode what this waking dream is showing you? It will give you the power to decode your own dreams that you experience in the night, in the dreaming, right? And from that, you're getting a wealth of information that is going to assist you in your life right here, right now. So we can hear that the universal language of symbol is something that, sounds kind of poetic, sounds kind of nice, but how does it actually apply to my here and now, and how does it benefit me? Well, as I'm sure that you've gained a sense of in what I've just shared, this is what takes you from rigid thinking, easily controlled, to free thinker, pattern decoder, universal translator, poet, visionary, artist, whatever medium you're in. This gives you the power to ask questions and know that you are going to receive the answers in unexpected ways. This is you plugging in to the sense of this reality, this existence being divine. That is a magical gift in itself. This instantly allows you to feel more connected to this body, to this breath, to this world around you that is speaking to you constantly. It's constantly having a conversation with you in the language of symbol. Amazing. So, applying this to Earth rearranged as heart, I want to start to take you through this working symbolic decoding process. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. The beauty of the universal language of symbol is that it's boundless. A super grounded in example is when you look at an artwork, a visual artwork, let's say. When would the artist have a full-on essay about every single thing in the piece and what it means and how it connects with all of that and what you're supposed to feel? No, rarely you get that. Maybe you get a little bit of some information, often quite practical. But the beauty of that, you are being exposed to the universal language of symbol, and every single person will be looking at objectively the same painting, but their experience of it is completely different. 10 people could see the same painting, and you will get 10 different explications of what that means and how those dots connect, because you are an individuated point of consciousness based on the time you were born, the family that you're from, the body that you live in, the gender that you are, the company that you keep, the physical and the non-physical, the human and other than human. That's going to inform the way that you receive and translate the universal language of symbol. So, whoa, we're tapping into your unique code. Amazing. Earth, let's say, we can start to decode that as something that's more material, okay, physical. When I think of earth, I think of slow medicine. I think of structure, limits, right, this body, if we're speaking purely physically, it has limits, there are boundaries here. Purely physically, this is where my arm, this is where like space and my body end and start, right? There's an illusion of limits. Okay, so the earth medicine is also like the nurturer, the provider, right? Earth mother. I think it can be problematic to just think of the earth as mother, but earth mother and father. And if we're speaking about the heart, then for me, this is instantly transcending more of a physical experience and more a metaphysical, more an emotional, more a spiritual experience, something that's quite intrinsic, where the earth medicine is quite extrinsic, right? There are objects, there's physical reality, it seems to be existing all out here. The heart medicine, it's existing within, beyond, through, without, within, all of the things. Okay, so deepening the extrinsic with earth, the extrinsic reality is a lot about the work that you're doing in the world. The extrinsic reality is like the tangible physical aspects, like the physical items in your home. It is the plants growing in your garden. It is the how stable you are financially, how caught up, let's say, you are in this outer realm. It's about comfort. It's about abundance in many ways, right? Like, look at any fruit tree and you'll just cry at how many beautiful fruits are just growing unconditionally. Well, kind of conditionally, because, you need sun and water. You know what I mean. The intrinsic side, when we're speaking about the heart, the emotional and the spiritual reality, let's say, this is a lot about internal well-being. This is a lot about your connection with little s self and bigger s self. This is about how authentic you are in your day-to-day life. This is about your sense of belonging. This is about your sense of purpose, right? The medicine of the heart, the path of heart, which is a program I was running before, which will be coming out in a new form soonish. The medicine of the heart is like your path of purpose, right? We say so often that you should be doing what you love. And so often we misunderstand actually what love is. Love in its truest form in many cases is most akin to truth, the capacity to see and accept something as it is, okay? And that's a very metaphysical, existential form of love, of the heart. When I think of the heart, I think of the spiritual heart, the strong heart, the clear heart, the full heart, right? If the earth, which seems to be outside, whatever outside truly is what's holding all that can take place in this body that I experience as more transcendental. They work hand in hand, just how what exists in the physical plane has metaphysical roots. This could sound quite abstract, but if you really apply that, we can take someone, for example, who's constantly hunched over with their shoulders, and a purely physical diagnosis, let's say, of that is that they have weak, what would even cause that? Like a weak back or a weak abs? No, you know what I mean? Like there's something physical. Maybe they were injured before and they've now been living like that. Okay, that's quite symptomatic. We're not getting to the root here. The metaphysical says that, okay, well, we can see that there's something physically happening here. Metaphysically, there is a reason that the body is responding like that. Actually what comes to me now when something's like that, it's very protective of the heart, right? It's trying to create a cocoon. Already we're seeing how the extrinsic is showing us more clues towards the intrinsic root, the metaphysical root. Maybe that person has been heartbroken again and again and again in their life. And really, they've just reached a point where they feel so afraid to open their heart again to love that what has existed as an internal turmoil has now started to manifest outwardly. Because what exists in the physical has metaphysical roots. A really amazing resource that you can refer to with this is a book called Metaphysical Anatomy. Whoa, so much gold in there. It's a big book. But even if you're curious of what I mean, simply just look up metaphysical anatomy, or look up if there's something that's been happening in your life, like the metaphysical meaning of a sore right shoulder. Okay, then you've got so much to work with. Typically, we carry burdens on the shoulders, and the right side is the masculine or the father, more of the will, the directive action. So you've been feeling held back in actualizing yourself and in balancing the inner masculine and the feminine because you've been carrying ancestral burdens from right side, father's side, ancestral burdens from your father's line. Whoa, hello, if we were just speaking about the physical, it stops there. It stops with sore right shoulder. Boring. Like, cool, we need to know what's happening in the physical. But to get to the root, we got to apply the universal language of symbol. I digress. Let's go back to earth and heart. This is where I'm going to apply now some numerology, getting into some etymology, and even weave in a little bit of the tree of life in Kabbalah. And we're really working with phenomenology here, the working without knowing. We are working with and calling upon the infinite intelligence, the universal mind, which is already connected to everything, that when we open ourselves up to the mystery, then what will come to us is often something that the rational mind couldn't get to itself. So, for starters, if Earth, well, not if, Earth starts with the letter E. Wow, good job. Already, etymologically, we've got E to work with. Why just the first letter? Because within the example of Earth rearranged as heart, we're now working with the first letter of E shifting to the first letter of H. Okay, so let's dive into maybe the significance of E versus H. So E, about 3,800 years ago, was pronounced as an H, funnily enough, in the Semitic language. And so if we apply that, then Earth kind of would have sounded like hearth or hearth, which is the place in the home where the fire is, right? Bringing in some free association here. A bit more free association, fire, okay. The magma at the core of the earth is like the fireplace, right? How the fireplace in the home is like the heartbeat. And so the fire in the form of magma in the core of the earth, it's like the heartbeat of the earth. Okay, amazing. Nothing necessarily to directly conclude from here, but in this process, you're doing really important training to develop the capacity, the muscle of the universal language of symbol decoding, translating, working with. E is the 5th letter in the alphabet. So now we're working with the number 5, right? And 5 heralds change. 5 heralds exploration, adaptivity, the archetype of the adventurer. 5 as quintessence, right? The 5th element, if we apply that with the 4 elements plus the 5th element of ether, okay? 5 as the 5th house in astrology, which is connected to the inner child and creativity. In some systems, it's directly correlated with the zodiac sign Leo. 5 senses, the 5 element theory in traditional Chinese medicine. You see where we're going here? We're getting some juice from the fact that E is the first letter, and E, it's etymology. E is the 5th letter, 5 senses, 5 elements, the numerological meaning of 5. look at it quite literally too, like symbolically. You just look at the pure symbol of E. If you turn E onto its side, right, like that, then you've got an image that resembles the scales of justice, the scales of Maat, of truth, right? How at the end of the life, your heart is weighed on the scale with a feather, and if it is lighter than the feather, then you can transcend into the heavenly realm, let's say. Beautiful. So we've taken the letter in the alphabet, looked at its etymology, played with its numerology a little bit, looked at it purely symbolically, like just the letter in front of us, and applying some abstract thought and shifting it around, that childlike curiosity, right? We can also look at its planetary association, which is Mercury. Okay, Mercury is also quite a physical thing for sure, but Mercury more metaphysically is often associated with the qualities of communication, things like that. And another thing that came through for me when I sort of drew the letters on a piece of paper just to play with that is that compared to H, which is like boom, 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 the E, it's almost like it's one-sided and then there are levels, right? So if you imagine two people standing next to each other, it's like it's biased on one side and they're navigating connection on levels, let's say. But an H, if there are two people standing side by side like this, they're, relatively equal. They're connected by that central pillar there, which could be seen as connecting their hearts. Okay, there's no one's telling me this. This is my free association, employing the universal language of symbol in the way that came through for me, right, through this channel. So segueing now into the letter H. H is the 8th letter of the alphabet. So immediately we're working with the number 8. And 8, there are many schools of thought around this, but 8, from my own understanding of it, is a karmic equalizer. It bridges the material, earth, with the spiritual, heaven, okay? Which is really interesting because that's what we're working with when we're speaking about earth and heart. 8 is the atomic number of oxygen, right? We're still speaking about the less tangible things, right? A Fibonacci number. 8 can represent abundance. 8 can represent balance. 8 can represent infinity. If we just look at it symbolically, right? When we look at H, we can see it as a window. We can see it as a ladder, the stairway to heaven. In esoteric doctrine, as above, so below. They're blurring into one. The number 8 has 2 circles, as above, so below, right? If we apply that 8 is a representation of karma, karmic dispensation, karmic equalization, then we're speaking about the law of karma now. It's perpetual, it's continual, right? It's sort of like the symbol of the 8. There's no start, there's no end. It's continual, right? And in Sanskrit, karma means action, which is derived from the word karman, meaning act. So we're speaking about cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect, right? And weaving that a little bit more into the Kabbalistic tree, when we're speaking about cause and effect, I think of Keter, which is really interesting because in that word is ether, the unmanifest. Keter is like the cause, and then it is at the top, and there's the tree, and you've got Malkuth at the bottom, which is representing the physical plane. But really, this can only exist because this exists. There is no unmanifest without the manifest, right? There is no cause without the effect. We're speaking of seeing both sides of the coin, maybe even perfect balance. On a planetary level, we're speaking about Saturn, which is associated with the number 8. And then Saturn is a whole other game. You know, Saturn, what are the associations with Saturn? On a purely physical level, it's the planet with the rings around it. On a more astrological level, it's the archetype of Father Time, boundaries, structure, limits, work, discipline, cords, attachments, these sort of things. Which makes sense when we're speaking about karma, which could be an effect of a relationship where there's cords, attachments being formed. So again, going maybe in a different direction, I can see the 8 as more evocative of the yin and the yang, right? If we're speaking about perfect balance, we're totally speaking about that. 8, it's moving, it's dynamic. 8, the octagon, what does that shape mean? Or 8 as the wheel of Dharma, the 8th house in astrology, which is a lot about death, a lot about merging. And so then you can think about as well, you can apply it to you. How has 8 shown up in your life? How has 5 shown up in your life? Like for me personally, if I just apply numerology, 5 is my life path number. Okay, cool. What does that mean something to me? Do I want it to mean something to me? There's full creative control here. Because just like the depth that you are connecting with a visual artwork, that's on you. You know, how willing are you? If we draw from the video about inspiration, a core pillar of inspiration and how inspired you can be being your willingness to experience, your willingness to be open-minded enough to receive what's happening in your reality from which inspiration is evoked, right? And this is where, again, it's really personal because my relationship to E could be totally different if my name started with the letter E, or if E, which is connected with 5, has been super meaningful because 5s have just been showing up a bunch lately on the clock or in receipts or just walking outside and seeing 5s just coming through. And maybe if you apply a bit more of the synesthetic layering there, for me, like E is just so green, like it's just really associated with the color green for me. Whereas 8 is a lot more associated with like red, funnily enough. If we look at energy centers, the 5th energy center is the throat. Okay, what does that mean to you? For me, the throat is like the blueprint of your life, which manifests through the throat, what you speak into creation. I find that when I'm singing more, I'm way more clear. Like my energy just feels so much more clear. My fluidity of speech and what I'm able to bring through comes through with a lot more ease. I feel much more connected. And maybe for you, the throat is quite a charged area because you felt stifled in communicating your true self. Your self-expression has felt stifled. And so what we're doing here is layering and layering and layering. There are no limits to how deep you want to layer. You could bring in the tarot. You could look at the 5th or the 8th card of this particular deck that you have. You can do your own research on what the symbolism that's coming up for you means, and then draw free associations from that, not taking that fully as gospel. Within the chakra system, the 8th chakra is that transcendental chakra. It's like the soul star. What does that mean to you? Okay, how interesting that when we're speaking about the heart, because we're connecting it with the difference between the E and the H as the first letter, that heart is governed by the 8, which is governed by the 8th transcendental chakra, which is all about the spark of your soul and how connected that is to your being. How soul embodied are you? How connected to a divine source of inspiration are you? How connected to life do you feel? You know, and then that feeds into your capacity to communicate, how that lands and how that is expressed in the physical plane. There's a really symbiotic relationship here, like with most things, if not anything, in this highly complex web of all existence that is extremely interdependent. Like, how much more content do you have now to work with, even for a project or even for the fact that you've been training this muscle and then you can apply it to whatever you're working on? If you're feeling a bit stuck, you're feeling there's a bit of stagnancy there. This is a massive solution to so-called creative block. And my understanding of creative block is simply that there's been too much pressure in the system and there's been no release. So your cup is full. You need to empty that cup a little bit to keep energy flowing through you, right? Create a cause so that there will be an effect. So the invitation to you from this short and sweet video is very much, can you pay more attention to what is speaking to you all the time through the universal language of symbol? How able are you to pay attention to this unspoken, sometimes spoken through other people that you're around, and you hear something like that is relevant to what you've been contemplating, or you've asked a question and you put it out, you release it, and then you'll be walking through the street and you'll hear the words that somebody else is speaking in their own conversation, not directed towards you, but it answers your question. This is also the universal language of symbols speaking to you. The obvious examples are, can you pay attention to, if it's relevant for you, like don't force it, but are there particular numbers that keep showing up for you, right? Are there particular themes that show up for you? Be it hearing the types of conversations that people are having around you, or the symbols, the patterns of your own thoughts, and how that is mirrored outside of you. Because as above, so below, as within, so without. So again and again, the universal language of symbol and your capacity to attune to it, to translate it, to decode it, and to apply it to your life is the fusion of the earth and the heart, of the material, the physical plane, with the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, the non-physical plane. It is the bridge between heaven and earth. And so it allows you to empower yourself to trust that, because this seeming external reality is speaking to you all the time in its unspoken but symbolic language, you're not alone. There's an instant sense of kinship, of belonging, of interconnectedness. It's magical. It's animistic, because you are acknowledging the personhood, the consciousness of what you used to think were inanimate objects. We could just call that a coincidence. We could call that synchronicity. We can call that divinity, though it's you allowing yourself to receive guidance that is not quite rational, but something that is speaking directly to your subconscious. The language of your soul, of intuition, is also symbol, remember. And sometimes we're so expecting answers to come in words or written text because that's what we were shown and taught in school. But then you're missing so much of the other unspoken things that are trying to be communicated to you, which will serve your path of purpose, of passion, of destiny, of leading with soul. So even if you just take that from this video, that the language of symbol, the universal language of symbol, is also the voice of your intuition, yeah, you're probably going to want to pay more attention to that. Intuition as manifesting in your body as particular reactions to something. For example, someone stays in your house and you're constipated for the entire week, and then as soon as they leave, your body's working normally again. Hello. this is no one telling you directly that that's there was some incompatibilities there, or perhaps you crossed your own boundaries. That's your intuition manifesting through your body. Or let's say we apply that example, and in the dreaming you have not even that person specifically being in your dream, but there's this imagery of you being a mouse and you're trying to navigate through all these huge legs of elephants that you're scooting around and trying not to get squished. Or that you are trying to run but you just can't move your legs. Super loaded content. We can pull out stuff endlessly from that. Not to get lost in it, but to respect and honor what has been coming through. There's gold there. Do not underestimate that. I really look forward to you applying this in your own life and just being a little bit more curious about what is the symbolism that is showing up in your life. Or even if there's nothing super obvious, like testing it a little bit, asking questions and not expecting the answer to come straight away or in words, or someone to walk up to your face and tell you the exact answer. But open that invitation, open that invitation for something really magical to come to you, for your rational mind to be challenged, for the irrational to shine its light and illuminate dark spaces of your mind that were limited by a false sense of separation and disconnection. Open the space in your heart to allow the intangible forces of guidance, of intuition to shine through and to come through. You could even code it such that if you have a question that you want answered, but you don't want to be so intellectual about it, you can ask that question internally and intend or ask, I would really love for the answer for this to come through messages from other people, to come through the cards that I'm about to pull, to come through my dreaming. Please may this answer come to me in my dreaming. And may I remember this dream so that I can write it down, not try to decode it straight away, write down what I see, and then come to it with a fresh eyes and just receive the symbolism. Let that code speak to that subconscious mind, and let that subconscious mind then be translated into the conscious mind for you to then rationally comprehend it. Very reciprocal relationship here. The key is for you to really honor and implement this in your life so that you're seizing the fullness of life and of what is communicating with you. Don't just put the blinders on. This is a massive invitation to embark on that quest, right? To surrender the rational, compartmentalized, disconnected mind, and to open your heart and to belong. Receive the blessings of belonging, of interconnectedness. Tap into the magic that is existing right here, right now, through you, in you, as you, and allow the so-called without to show you and tell you and teach you about the within. Really, power to you with this. This is a key to being a free thinker, to being a creative dreamer, to being empowered and authentic. Because then you have the key, the master key to ingenuity, to getting answers to some big stuff in your life. The symbols will manifest in so many ways. Don't let it be limited. Train that muscle. See how that is meaningful to you. Like, what does that mean to you? So the aligned action from this video is exactly that. How can you pay more attention to the universal language of symbol and recognize that it is also the language of spirit, your soul, intuition? Play with that. Enjoy it. Be curious. Your inner child is going to love you and it's going to be so excited to share with you the wisdom that it already embodies. So enjoy that so much. I'm really excited for you. Following from this, support this channel, like this video, share it with someone you feel would benefit from receiving this. And for those of you who are really looking to be guided and held on your own journey of soul embodiment and creative empowerment and embodied authenticity, then I have a mentoring program which is perfectly curated to guide you through a deep and meaningful process to address the blocks that have been holding you back and then apply it tangibly, bringing vision into reality. This is all there in the program. Stay tuned. I will be releasing some course content again. It's been a little while. And I'm really looking forward for the next round of it. I feel there's just been so much learning and growing and things bubbling away that it's time that it is curated into another offering and birthed and shared with the world. So stay tuned, lots of goodness coming, and I'll see you in the next one.